Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. I am back with another weekly wrap-up. I read, 9 books this week, so I'm finally back to my usual kind of reading. I try to hit 7 or more books a week, and with the vacation and everything, I was just kind of a little slacking on my reads, but we are back. I am back, and I have some really good books to talk about. A slight disappointment. So let's go ahead and dive into my weekly reads. Okay, guys, so these are actually going to be all the reads, kind of finishing up all the books that I read at the end of July and then the first 2 days of August. Obviously, I put this in like my July weekly reads because it's mostly July, but anyways, if you're not aware, I do weekly wrap-ups. Welcome to my channel if you haven't seen this before, but you can always check out all my weekly wrap-ups in my playlist. I have a weekly wrap-up playlist, so you can definitely check that out there. But I had a pretty good week. I went back to work this week and got some, it's just craziness at work going on right now, but I think good things are coming. So I was actually able to buckle down and listen to like my usual amount of audiobooks. You know, I do listen to a lot of audiobooks at work because I work in the office and I'm able to kind of listen to those. Plus when I drive, clean the house, whatever I do, I'm always, listening to an audiobook. So anyways, let's go ahead and dive into what I read this week. So I am going to start off with a big one that was highly anticipated, but something that I was super nervous to read because I had heard conflicting things. And that is Taming 7 by Khloe Walsh. Now, if you follow my channel, you may know that I love the Boys of Tommen series. I have them up here, the original covers. I wish they still made those type of covers. This is a side little rant. I just don't like these covers. And then the book is like a lot like the pages are just super like thin and like flimsy and super small writing. So this is like, I think only 400 and something pages, which these are like over 600, 2 books per a couple. So 2 books on, Johnny, 2 books on Joey, and then we have 1 book on Gypsy. So that is going to be one of my big complaints from this is that Gypsy deserved more. I wanted either a thicker book, maybe 500, 600 pages on him, or 2 books on him. So that is one of my issues on this, but I did still really enjoy this book. But what I was saying, I get on side tangents. I'm sorry, I just lose my train of thought. What I was saying was, if you're not aware or if you don't follow me, I did vlog reading these. And I literally bawled my eyes out. Those were my top books, I think, of 2023. They were my favorite books of the year. They wrecked me. These characters mean so much to me. Khloe Walsh writes a lot more of a character-driven story. There is so much character development and growth and just trauma that these characters have to go through. That is just she tackles tough subjects. And she is getting a lot of backlash now for stuff going on right now. And I'm not going to get into that here, but it just really frustrates me because they're acting like her bringing up sexual assault and stuff is, dramatizing it and then also like romanticizing it, which I don't get that at all. Like, she's telling her story, and a lot of other people's stories, and she's doing it in a nitty-gritty, like very real way, and I think that's important. But anyways, I said I wasn't going to get into it, but my annoyance in that is she's handling really heavy content in all these books too. So she's not afraid to tackle those really dark and depressing and sad subject matters that unfortunately are part of our world on a daily basis. So Anyways, if you are interested in seeing me cry, gush, lose my mind over these books, check out my vlogs. I'll try to like link them down below, or I'll ping them here and here. I don't know, because I did a couple, but check those out if you want like spoiler reactions of those books. I did do a vlog of this one, so that will be coming soon. Now this one I did not get as emotionally invested as I did in those, but I did cry a couple times. Of course, Khloe Walsh is always going to get me, and I did really enjoy the story. I just thought there deserved to be more dealing with Gypsy's trauma. So I'm not going to give that all away here, because you can check out my vlog. Hopefully I'll be posting it in like this next week or two. I'm really behind in my vlog since my vacation. So anyways, so what this is about is Gypsy, and he is the fun-loving, funny guy of the group of boys of Tommen. He is always the jokester, the funny guy. He does always add like a really good comic relief to these heavy books, but I could tell in a previous book that, he was kind of covering up and putting on an act a little bit, also because he had some really bad trauma from his childhood. And he was actually, like, he almost drowned as a child, and his sister ended up drowning, and his father, like, trying to save them. And so he has, like, a tremendous amount of guilt, and he was, like, 5, I think, when that happened. And so he has a lot of trauma from that. He has PTSD, he has trouble sleeping. He does have additional trauma that you will find out later in the book, but that is the original kind of thing that really changed his life. And he lives across the street from Claire, and Claire Bear, she is his ride or die best friend. They've been in love with each other their entire lives. Claire, they are like 17 here, I think. They're still in high school, but it's not high school over there. But she, is in love with him, and he like will always sneak into her room at night, sleep in her bed with her, because she's really like his safe space. She's like his comfort. And so they just have this beautiful relationship, but it is a struggle to watch like Gypsy love her, but like not be with her, because he doesn't think he's good enough and can be the right man for Claire. And Claire is just like kind of like fed up. So there is a lot going on in this concerning his past, his other trauma. You have Liz, who hates him because her sister was assaulted. She thinks she was assaulted. There's rumors going around and she had killed herself by his stepbrother. And so for some reason she blames Gypsy. Liz is a fucking bitch in this book, let me just tell you. And her book is next. I'm releasing 10. And so I think that a lot of the stuff that I wanted to resolve in here is going to carry on into her book, because her and Gypsy have so much unresolved, and there's a lot of issues there. And the group is kind of fractured. There's a lot going on when it comes to Liz and Gypsy. And so my main issue with this was I wanted more. We don't really get to learn the real truth, even though it's kind of hinted, you kind of know, till near the end of the book. And so I felt like we needed to spend some more time with that, some more time of him healing, of the group coming together. But I think Khloe is putting that into the next book, maybe. I don't know. But it just felt like I wanted a little bit more for Gypsy. I still really loved this story. I love the characters. I love seeing Johnny and Shannon happy. I love seeing my baby Joey and Aoife together. Joey is my baby. I love him so much. My heart is never broken for a character more than him. And so just seeing those like groups too in here was great. So I did end up giving this one 4.5 stars. And then 2 chilies. I just love Gypsy and Claire so much. They are adorable. They're soulmates. I just wanted a little bit more for Gypsy. And to give you in relation to where this rated along those, I gave the first book 5 stars because it was my first book. I didn't really know what I was getting to, and it kind of ends, in a cliffhanger, and it was already a long book. But then once I knew what I was dealing with Khloe Walsh, all the other 3 books were 6-star reads. So really, I probably should go back and give that first book a 6-star. But that's kind of where this is lying in this. So it's not fully a 5-star because I just feel like Gypsy needed more. And also because like it's definitely like, you know, usually it's a 6-star for Khloe. So still a great rating, but it just didn't hit the same mark as those ones, if that makes sense. Okay, so then I finally read Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. I'm trying to catch up into this series. That was one of my things I needed to do. One of my goals here. Like, I want to catch up with Elsie Silver. I'm also reading her Gold Rush Ranch series right now and really loving it. So this one is the second book in the Rose Hill series. I didn't love, what was it, Wild Love? Yeah, Wild Love. I didn't like, it didn't totally blow me away. I thought it was okay. It was like a 4-star. It was decent, but I kind of had expected more. But I really loved this one a lot more. It was fantastic. I ended up using a credit and getting the audiobook, because I heard the audiobook was really well done, and it is narrated by Teddy Hamilton and Savannah Peachwood. And of course, you know, I am a Teddy Hamilton ride or die bitch. I just am. I'm a sucker for Teddy Hamilton. If I see him narrating a book, I want to buy it. It is the way it is. So like sometimes I'll fall for a hero more than I would reading it because Teddy's narrating it. So I did. I really liked the hero from this because of Teddy, but also because Elsie's writing. He is a great hero. So anyways, what is this book about? This is between West and Skylar, and West is actually the brother to the heroine from the first book, Rosie, I think it is. And Skylar is kind of like a huge pop star, like country star. She's a huge star. You think Taylor Swift, but I also think in lines of like Britney Spears, because she was a child star and really controlled by her parents. Her father was kind of like involved and managing her and like kind of like manipulating her career, and she really felt like just this used like thing that was they're making money off of, and she didn't even write her own music, so she felt kind of like a fraud. And she had just learned that she was like a betrayal of her father and manager and stuff, and so she had ended this relationship that ended up to be kind of like part of the betrayal. And so she ends up kind of wanting to take a break from being in that world, and she goes to Ford and Rosie, their business, where it's like a music studio type of thing, to kind of get help writing her own album and getting a break from everything, the limelight and everything. So she ends up driving out there, kind of surprising them. She was supposed to come, but she comes early. But first she has a little meet cute that kind of goes crazy with West. And she had actually, he's driving by and he sees her like in front of a grizzly bear, like doing a selfie type of video, making content in front of a bear. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? So he gets out there to stop her, like, hey, you're gonna get killed. And she gets like all defensive and irritated, and she kind of knows it's stupid. Like, it's really a too stupid to live moment, really it is, but it's really funny, you know. And he kind of gets her out of the situation, and so that's kind of how they first meet. And then when she goes to Rosie and Ford and finds out they don't really have a space for her, Rosie ends up putting her in, like, I can't remember if it was the tack house or what type of whatever. It was like a house on West's property. So now they're kind of like neighbors. West is a single dad, and she ends up really bonding with his kids, and kind of like he kind of forces her to get out of like being sucked in the media, because she's always on her phone seeing these horrible comments, seeing what they're saying about her. And he literally does a dick move, but it's for her benefit, where he like chucks her phone like into the water and is like, you need to unplug. Like, you need to stop being so focused on that and like enjoy being out here in nature and writing your album and just living, like, you know, touch grass. Like, she's really like feeling it, you know. And so she really starts to fall for West, really enjoys his kids. And West is actually like one of her #1 fans, but she had no idea. He like hit it and just treated her like a regular chick, which is what she needed. So they start to really fall for each other and start something. But the thing is like, she's supposed to be leaving soon after she finishes her album. and like he's not leaving. He, it like works with horses and all that kind of stuff, and he has a family and his ranch there, and he's not leaving. So that's kind of like a little bit of the conflict, and it was really cute. It didn't, there were some parts, I can't remember why, but like there was, I guess I just didn't fully feel it was a 5-star, because I ended up settling with a 4.5 star on this. I did really enjoy it. There was even like a song included, like a musical, production on the audiobook, which I thought was really great. So I really had a good time with it. It was much better than the first one, I thought. And I really love their connection and the chemistry, and it gets spicy. Elsie Silver can really deliver the spice. It was fantastic. And I'm really excited to get to, I can't remember if it's Wild Side, the one where it's like a wrestler. So I'm excited to get to that one next. So again, I gave this 4.5 stars and 3 chilies. Okay, so then I am continuing on with my Elle Kennedy, which I'm trying to catch up with. I finally finished the off-campus series. Sorry, I forgot. And now I'm trying to finish Briar U, because I want to get to her second generation series. So I read The Risk, and this is the second book in the Briar U. And I liked this is another one where I liked the first one, didn't love it. This one was much better. I just had a tiny issue with like the third act breakup, but it's forgivable. So this one is between Jake and Brenna, and Brenna is actually the Briar U's coach's daughter, but she has a really kind of complicated relationship with her father. They really don't get along very well. He's very, kind of cold with her because of stuff that happened in her teen years that really traumatized him and really makes her feel like she's always like a disappointment to her father. And she's just this gorgeous, ballsy, feisty kind of girl that goes after what she wants. She kind of hooks up with guys, but she doesn't have sex. So she just does like the oral or other things with guys. Doesn't want a relationship because she had a pretty heavy situation happen with her high school boyfriend, who is constantly still calling her. There's a trigger warning for drug addiction in this. Her high school boyfriend is severely addicted to drugs. He was supposed to be a hockey star, but lost it all because of his drug addiction and meltdowns. And so he still constantly reaches out to her. And then we have Jake, and he is like the captain and big star of the Harvard team. I think it was Harvard, right? Yeah, which is their like rival. So they immediately, like, you could see the connection between them in the previous book, and she acts very like, I hate you to him, but she doesn't really hate him. She's pretty attracted to him, but he is, on their rival team, so she could never really go there, and she's very close with all the hockey players on the Briar U team. So she's actually she's majoring in like journalism, and she's trying to get an internship. She wants to do sports journalism. And she's trying to get an internship at this, I think it's called HockeyNet, so that, she could get her foot in the door. But the guy she meets with is like a chauvinistic pig and like really discounting of her. And it isn't until he starts talking about how amazing Jake is, because Jake is already signed with a team, a pro team, and he's going to be playing in Canada like the next year. And she like knows him, and the guy's going on about how amazing Jake is, so she kind of brings up that she knows him and kind of fibs that he's her boyfriend, and she regrets it the instant she says it, but he's like, oh, you have to bring him over to a dinner party. And so she has to kind of beg him to do this with her, to fake be her boyfriend so that she can get a shoe in with this guy. And he's like, okay, he's living it, because they have amazing banner. It's kind of like that enemies to lovers, but they're really crushing on each other type of banner. And he's like, okay, I'll do it on one condition. Like, you have to actually go on a real date with me. Because he's like, you can't deny this connection we have. There's something between us. Like, and she's always like, I can't really go anywhere. And he's like, who cares? Like, we could have fun and really enjoy each other. So he ends up going on this date, fake date thing, which doesn't go great for her. And then they eventually go on their real date, and they have amazing chemistry. So they start to kind of like secretly see each other because her dad would not be cool with it. His coach is also like enemies with her dad, and then the team wouldn't be cool with it either. But what I loved about this was they really like are seeing each other secretly and hooking up. And it takes a while for them to have sex because she really doesn't do that with everybody. She'll fool around, but it takes a lot for her to want to go there. But he actually steps up because with her drama with her boyfriend comes up. He helps her out. He's very supportive to her. He's just very swoony. I loved Jake, and he's super hot. And so, you know, it helps her to open up because she's always built these walls. And so I just really loved their connection. Now, there is a third act breakup that I got a little irritated by, but it doesn't last long. And I just love Jake so much that I kind of forgave him for his stupidity. But I really enjoyed this one. So I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars because the third act kind of thing just kind of got my nerves a little bit. And it wasn't quite a 5-star read, but much better than the first one. And I really loved it. Side note, there's this guy Hollis on the team that's kind of this clueless idiot that like was crushing on her, but she was like, hell no. And this girl like is kind of stalkerish into him, and she kind of just forces him to be her boyfriend, and they are really funny. Like, I loved that couple. So that was 4.5 stars, and then 3.5 chilies because their sex was amazing, very spicy. They were very hot together. Okay, so then I read Bring Down the Stars by Emma Scott. I am trying to read some more love triangle romances because somebody asked, when I asked what kind of trope recs they wanted from me, they did ask for love triangle, and I really only had like 4 or 5 books in like my list my tags that I keep track of on Goodreads, and most of them were like all Pam Godwin's one because it's 3 books in one series, you know, so it was like I really didn't have a lot of options. So I'm trying to read some more love triangle because I really don't gravitate towards that. But I want to try and read some love triangles to see if I like them and can do a rec video for you guys. So I looked this one up. This had actually been on my TBR forever. And these were available on AnyPlay. Yeah, I still have AnyPlay. I still use AnyPlay quite a bit. But now I'm like really into Libby. And then I get most of my stuff from Audible or like ALCs. But anyway, side note. Okay, so this is a love triangle set in college. I don't call this, it's kind of like not your typical love triangle because to me, it's obvious just by the POVs and the connection who she's going to end up with. It just adds in like the other person as like the drama kind of thing. But you kind of know who she's going to end up with from the jump. So it's not like that love triangle where you're trying to figure out who she's going to be with. It's kind of obvious. So if that makes sense. So this is between Weston, Connor, and Autumn. And Weston and Connor have been friends since they were kids. Weston kind of came from a poor family, and he was a really smart kid, wrote this like essay to get into like this nice academy type of thing. And that's where he met Connor. Connor's very rich, and his parents are very like, you know, I think his mom was a senator, if I'm remembering correctly. And like, so they're very like, they have a lot of pressure on him, expecting more from him. They want him to go to school and do this and that. And he really, all he wants to do, Connor just wants to open up a sports bar. Like that's what he wants, but his parents won't get behind it. But him and Weston are very close. His parents have done a lot for Weston and his mom. Weston's father, like, abandoned him. It starts off with that, which is really sad. Like, him and his mom came home early, and his dad was packing up and just, like, leaves them. Doesn't even really say goodbye to him, and he's chasing him down. And so that really affected Weston. He's very, like, this very attractive, broody. He's a poet. You know, he's a writer. He's very... you know, intense. And then Connor is like the fun guy. Everybody always loves him. He's like a really great guy. And they go to college, and they both kind of have an interaction with Autumn. And, you know, Weston really liked her, and they probably would have had more in common, but Connor kind of gets in there first. and starts to date her. And really Weston's like, well, I love my friend and he's really into her, so I'm not going to do anything. But the problem is that Connor doesn't know how to talk to her. He's not his usual type of chick. She's a little bit deeper, and so he ends up like asking Weston to help him a lot with like texts and stuff. And then when she finds like this poem that like Weston had actually written about her, Connor pretends like it was his. And so that starts this bad kind of hidden identity type of situation, and like Weston really talking for Connor to get her to like, so she was like really confused because she was falling in love with the Connor that was from these letters and these poetry and the texts and the sweet things that he would do, but then in person it wasn't the same. And so she felt really confused about it, but Weston just stood back because he didn't want to do that to his friend, and he really did love her, but didn't think anything had happened. And then what ends up happening is stuff goes down where they both end up signing up in the military for like the reserves, but then of course war starts happening and they get called, and so they both end up going overseas to active duty. And so that's kind of like where this book takes us at the end, is like Connor and her. Right before Connor leaves, stuff kind of happens with her and Weston. So she's very confused because she really cares about Weston, is attracted to him, but then she's with Connor and she loves him, but she doesn't really know that Connor is not the one writing all those letters and stuff. And so stuff kind of goes down at the end of this that leads to a cliffhanger. And so I did enjoy this. I did think that this, because this is a duet, I did think that this could have been one book, because I think it's only 280 something pages, and I felt like if she just put it into one book, it would have been fine. It would have been better, but I understand this is kind of what they do now, so it's fine. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars and 2 chilies. Okay, so then I listened to another audiobook. I had put like, I didn't plan on listening to this, but I had put a hold on this on Libby, and like all my holds were coming through when I was not ready for them, and I didn't expect them to come through that fast. So I needed to read this because I was going to lose this hold in like a day. So I had to like read it that day. So I listened to Alive and Wells by Bailey Hannah. This is the first book in the Wells Ranch series. I had seen Jen from the Book Refuge talk about this a while back, and so I really wanted to try this author out, and I really had a great time with this. This was a really good audiobook. It was, I don't know if I didn't write who is narrated by, sorry, but this is between Austen Wells and Cecily, and Cecily is a woman on the run. She is leaving her abusive husband. He was more verbally abusive in the beginning, but then it kind of starts to turn physical, and she had already been kind of contacting somebody on one of these support groups, and they had a place for her to go to get out. And so when things start turning really dangerous one night, she just goes. And so she ends up coming out to the Wells Ranch, which is where this person is kind of located, and going to get her a job out there so that she can have like a safe haven and kind of start over while she's getting divorced. And so she comes out to this ranch, and Austen is just really like kind of grumpy and broody, like this dumb city girl is trying to work on my ranch. And, you know, he's like, I'm not a cowboy, I'm a rancher. Like, I loved like the ranch life. The stuff that was going on felt very like authentic, but I don't have any idea because I don't know ranching life. But so she's living there and she's trying to kind of make a go of it, but he's very attracted to her and she's attracted to him, and she's kind of like, you know, she came out of a bad relationship, so to get with somebody again, you know, she's kind of leery of that. And what I liked about this, though, was that Austen was, like, attracted to her, but he wasn't, like, sexualizing her right away in the book. Like, when he would get those thoughts, it didn't fully get creepy. You know, like, that's kind of something that's been bugging me in books. Like, he ends up having such, like, tender feelings for her. And I really loved it because it was a really good slow burn between them, and there was all these like slight touches and like hand holding, and like you could just tell like they were really into each other. It gave you those like high school butterflies in the stomach type of like crushing feelings, and so I really liked that. So this was a really sweet like slow burn cowboy or rancher type of romance. Obviously, we have this third act suspense element that comes into play with her husband. It kind of wrapped up really weird and quickly, where I was like, wait, it's already done type of thing. But I didn't like lower my rating because I just really enjoyed the romance. Like, it was super sweet. I really loved Austin Wells. Like, he was adorable. And so I would definitely be interested in continuing with the series. So I ended up giving that one 5 stars and 3 chilies. Okay, so now on to one that was kind of my disappointing one, and I feel really bad about it, but I have to be honest. Even though I love this author, I have to be honest with you guys and give you my real thoughts on this. So I finally read Devotion by Claire Kent. This is the first book in her Central Cities series. Now, I think it's pretty obvious by this point, so I'm not spoiling anything, that this is kind of like connected in a way to her Kindled series. If you follow my channel, you know I love the Kindled series. I love Last Light. That's how I got really into Claire Kent. I love those books. And they got better and better. The last ones were so good. And so I was just kind of expecting more than what I got with this. So just think this is connected to that, but it doesn't really say that in this book. In the beginning, you don't really get the full connection till like later in the book, but I think it was hinted at pretty well. But in this, we have Gabriel and Jess. And we have, this is 45 years after the fall, or as it's called in the Kindle series, Impact. So this is 45 years after the fall. And we have, this is more in like the city's location. So Claire Kent is doing like multiple series where there's going to be another one coming out, The Wild. So there are different regions that are like kind of connected in this world. And I'm very excited for the Wilds one. I am excited for that one. I don't know how I feel about the Central Cities thing, but I think it was really interesting setup and interesting world building. The relationship just didn't work for me. So in this, we have more of the cities, and there's like kind of like a president who's basically completely in charge. And they kind of have like almost like a caste system, it feels like. And there's, you know, there's certain people in the administrative in power at this, you know, in the city, in this palace, with the president. And basically they get to like pick a woman, like just want to do this from a young age. And what it is this woman is there to help satisfy you, take away your stress. It almost reminded me of like Born for Lace, where she's like from Nikki Harris, where she was there to help that person deal with their stress, but they would like drug them and then do stuff with them. So that's a little different. But basically Jess was like trained in sexual stuff, and she hasn't had sex yet, but like, you know, the other stuff, the oral and pleasing a man. And that's their whole purpose, is for these guys high up in this administration and this government to kind of be able to give them relief and relieve their stress and be there for sex, kind of. And so Gabriel is new to this world. He came from the Wilds. And so from the Wilds, and then he moved to like a different city, which is like more the outer cities. And now he's kind of been forced to come by the president to work on like redoing their banking and like credit system and rehaul everything. And so it's a huge project that he's very stressed and overworked. And he comes there and he's supposed to pick one of these girls. And he's just very grossed out by that. That like, oh, I'm picking a woman and she's got to like service me sexually. Like that just feels wrong. I don't want to. And they're like, you have to. So he ends up picking Jess, and she's pretty frustrated because he's not like into doing anything. But eventually she starts to like see his issues and stress, and she offers to relieve him by giving him a blowjob. And that's what starts basically the next 60-70% of the book is repeated blowjobs. That's it. Like, seriously, it was so repetitive. There was so many blowjobs. And I'm okay with a blowjob. I enjoy the blowjob scenes. I'm okay if you F her face. I'm okay with it all. But, like, let's have something else going on here. And it's very, like, almost like an escort. So it's they didn't really have an emotional connection. And so in every blowjob, it was like the same sequence. Oh, she's massaging him. Now she's moving down and getting on her knees. Now she's taking his dick out. Now she's sucking his dick. Now she's putting his dick away. And now she's going to clean up and go sit in her little corner by the window and watch him work. That's it. For 60 to 70% of the book, I was losing my mind. I was like, I can't take one more freaking blowjob. And he was like, oh, let me return the favor. And she's like, oh, you can't. Because it was like against their ways of her getting off. It's only about getting him off, which is just, what a mind fuck. So it's a very like cult type of horrible government system that she is going to come. I did like her realizing the truth of what it really is. And then when the conflict comes into play and they have to like get out, you know, then we get the interesting tie to the Kindled series. But that's like near the end of the book. So my main thing is, if we would have took out 100 pages of blowjobs, this would have been a good book. I thought the world building was interesting. I did like interesting characters. I didn't really feel much of an emotional connection between them because like she's just servicing you, giving you blowjobs the entire book. So I was really frustrated with this one. I did like the ending. I loved seeing some characters that you're going to see at the end was great. And so I am excited for the Wild series, but I just thought this really missed the mark with the repeated blowjobs. Anyways. So I gave that one 3 stars, and I kept it at a 3-star. I almost did a 3.5, but I'm like, no, it's a 3-star. Really because of the world building. I thought that was interesting. I always like, you know, the way Claire Kent writes. I just couldn't take the repeated blowjobs. I saw somebody's review on Goodreads, and they're like, this is 80% blowjobs, 20% plot. And I thought that was freaking hilarious. Dead on. So anyways, 3 stars and 2.5 chilies. Okay, so then I finished out that duet for that love triangle, and this was Long Live the Beautiful Hearts. So this is the second part of the Beautiful Hearts duet by Emma Scott, and I really liked this one a lot more than the first one because I don't know, I might have to put a spoiler up because it's going to give things away about what happened at the end of the first one. So I might put a spoiler thing here. If you don't mind knowing, here you go. But basically at the end of the first one, they both get injured. Connor and Weston get injured in war. And really Weston has a severe injury trying to save Connor. And he does. And basically, Connor has a bad arm injury and PTSD when he gets back. And he is suffering from extreme guilt because he blames himself for everything that happened to Weston and where his life is now. Because Weston was like a runner. He was on scholarship with running. He was just like the fastest guy. And now he's never going to walk again. So I did love this because this really was so much character growth of like Weston and Connor and like what they had to go through. And it's really hard because like Connor can't even look at him and be around him. He feels so much guilt and he has PTSD and he kind of just like leaves to like escape the situation. And so Weston is kind of like on his own trying to get through things. Autumn is there for him and trying to support him. And they had like a makeout session before he left that they felt really guilty about. And he had been the one riding her while they were in war, you know, like, and so again, she's going to have to find out near the end of this what they really did and that he was the one writing her. And she was really in love with Weston the whole time and just with Connor. So this one had really good development of the characters. They are like friends, but like really falling for each other. I thought it had a great disability rep and kind of seeing Weston's journey on like what his life looks like now and how is he going to, you know, get through his day-to-day and kind of seeing what people with disabilities deal with, like just going to a bar. Like, you don't really think about that, like how hard that is. And so, I don't know. It was just very moving. I thought this one was really much better. And I really enjoyed this one more. So I ended up giving this one No, not 5 stars. Sorry. I gave it 4.5 stars and 2.5 chilies. Okay, so now we're on to my first couple books for August. And these are both ALCs. I'm in the middle of reading Beautiful Beast by Neva Altai, and I'm kind of like slow with it. I'm really slow moving reading this weekend. I've just been so tired, so I need to finish that today. But the first ALC that I had was Make Me Yours by Jennifer Sucevik, and this is the first book in the Chicago Rollers hockey series. This is actually my first book by this author, and I really enjoyed it. It was super cute. It was a friends to lovers, like very much pining hero. This hero has been in love with this heroine since college. So this is between Steele and Lila. Steele is a pro hockey player. He's gorgeous. He's like the whole package. But he has basically been in the friend zone with Lila since they were in college together. They are extremely close. She's always there for him. She was like kind of in a relationship, I think for 5 years, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was kind of one kind of like where her parents had them be together and it was kind of like forced on them, but she did think she loved him. It wasn't perfect, but she ends up walking in on him like screwing, I think it was his secretary. And he's like doing like spanking her and getting rough with her. And she's like, he never did that with me. And then she finds out that that girl's pregnant. And so he basically is like, because she works for him too. He's like, yeah, you should probably like quit. And he has like no guilt whatsoever about the cheating. And like, so now she has like nowhere to go. She's been living with him. So Steele offers up his place. And he also offers her kind of like a job as his assistant, just so that she has something. She was a lawyer, but she wasn't really into it. It was like what her parents wanted her to do. So now they're in forced proximity. And he's really hoping to like get her to see what's been in front of her this entire time, that he's been in love with her and want to be with her. And so they kind of start like where she brings up her previous relationship, how like it wasn't very good sexually. She's never gotten off with the guy. And so they decide to kind of have a hookup thing. But of course, Steele is hoping that this will lead to everything because she's all he's ever wanted. So it's a really cute, low angst, friends to lovers, roommates type of situation, hockey romance. So I had a good time with it. This one was narrated by Christian Fox and Vanessa Edwin. And I gave this one 4 stars and 3 chilies because there are some really good spicy scenes when they're experimenting together. Okay, so the last book that I read was Beyond the Stroke. This is by Erin Hawkins, and this is the first book in the Carolina Current series. Now, this is my first time reading this author. I usually stay away from the cutesy covers, but I am trying these in ALCs because I realized some of these books are actually really great that have these cutesy covers. But anyways, this was really cool because this is about a pro Olympic swimmer. And it was just nice to read a romance. It's not like a hockey romance, a football romance, a baseball romance. Like, it was kind of nice to get a swimmer. I used to swim in high school. I love swim. Watching Olympic swimming is like my favorite thing. So I really liked that. So anyways, this is between Rory and Summer. And this is basically like a golden retriever hero, black cat heroine. She's a grump. He's the sunshine. And she is like just kind of newer to this town, and she has moved there. She's living in her van with her like little pug, and she's working multiple jobs. She did actually come from a family with like a lot of wealth, but she didn't want to marry the guy that was like very verbally and mentally abusive to her, that her parents were like making her marry. And she didn't want anything to do with that. So they basically kind of like cut her off. So now she's struggling, working multiple jobs. The meet cute that they have is pretty funny because she's actually dressed as a mermaid, and they want her to like swim out in the ocean as like this mermaid for this birthday party, but there's really bad riptide, like currents. And so she ends up having to get saved by Rory, and it's like totally embarrassing for her. But then they run into each other like, a couple times, and he just really feels protective over her, especially when he goes back with her to her van and it was like broken into. So he like kind of forcefully stays with her for a couple days, like sleeping on the ground to just be there for her. And so he's just like, I can't help it. I feel protective over you. You know, she's got her walls up and just, you know, not very trusting. But this guy is just such a sweetie. She can't like ignore it. And he actually asked for her help because his parents are trying to like force him back with his ex. He had an injury and he didn't really have a great relationship with her. He was more focused on swim like he always is. And it just wasn't the best relationship. And so she's trying to get back with him. And he's really not interested. And now his parents are doing like a dinner and going to force this girlfriend on him. And so he kind of asked her to go with him. And she said no at first, but then she kept feeling like really bad because she thought about how her parents were to her. And so she shows up to the dinner and basically sees like pretending to be his girlfriend or something isn't going to be enough with these people. They'll just get rid of a girlfriend and push this woman on her, do whatever it takes. That's what my parents would have done. And so she basically says, oh, I'm his wife. And Rory really liked that. And so then he also finds out she actually suffers from asthma, but she has no medical insurance because of her situation. So she's been like really slowly, like barely using her, you know, inhaler. And so it's really unsafe. And so she has a really bad attack. And he basically was like, this is ridiculous. So he offers up a marriage of convenience where she could be on his insurance and then she could be his wife so that he could like focus on swim and stuff. And so she reluctantly agrees and they move in together and it's just so cute. I loved Rory so much. He is such a golden retriever, cinnamon roll, whatever you want to call it. He is perfection. He's super sexy. Like she's so attracted to him, but like doesn't want to do anything with him. She never wants to open herself up to that again. And so he wears her down though. Like he knows all the things she's into and he pays attention and he provides those things. She's like really into art and she is like this secret artist too, which was a cool little thing added in here. And he like has an art studio already set up for her when she moves into his house. I mean, this man is just a gem, you guys. So this was so freaking cute. I loved it. I listened to it like in a day. I loved the audiobook. This one was narrated by Alex Knox and Lucy Rivers. And so I definitely recommend the audiobook. It was so cute. Oh, you know what I didn't mention? I believe Make Me Yours was duet narrated. This one is dual narration, so not duet. But I ended up giving this one 5 stars. It just was so adorable and I loved the hero and I just had such a good time with it. And then 2.5 chilies. So those are all the books that I read this week. Thank you so much for watching this. As always, I appreciate you guys so much. I did recently ask something on my Instagram because I was going to try doing like the live vertical streaming on on YouTube. And I didn't know, is there any topics that you guys would want me to discuss on those live streams? Because I'm going to give that a try to see if it'll bring more viewers to my channel or whatever, or just try those discussions. I usually do lives where it's like just the regular horizontal lives on my channel, but the vertical ones end up going in like the short sections. So I wanted to give that a go. So if you have any topics, things you want me to talk or address about, or any ideas, let me know in the comments below. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and I will see you guys on the next one.